It's 7 o'clock on a Thursday. You know what that means? It is time for Look Around the Confederation. Matt could not be with us this evening, and Moose is on the way back home from Oxford to Wayne County. So he asked me if I'd step in and be able to host. And of course, normally when y'all see me, I've got the Kennedy twins on, and I love it when they come on because I've got to say about maybe 5 minutes worth of stuff, and the rest of the time they fill it. But before we get kicked off, as usual, the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, its GEC, any division, brigade, camps, or other subsidiaries, strictly those expressing them. So, good evening, boys. How are y'all doing? What have y'all been up to?
Well, I've been on the road, been going here, there, everywhere, promoting the cause from Colorado to Kentucky, and I think Ron's been doing the same.
Yeah, I've just got back from North Carolina and getting ready to go back up to North Louisiana next week. And then Donald and I think we're headed up to Virginia the week after that.
And all of which we're promoting the cause, trying to take back the narrative. You ever hear of that idea, Connor?
Once or twice. Once or twice in the past 30 weeks.
Good.
But just hope everybody else is. We're going to, before we get really kicked off again, for those that did submit stories and things in to be featured on this week, we're going to be featuring them next week. Remember, you can send your stories and stuff in to scvyouthoutreach@gmail.com, and we'll put it up there. Trying to find the banner for it really quickly. Boom.
There you go.
Yeah, I can manage, all by myself without Harrison. Just don't let him know that.
Yeah, don't embarrass the Moose.
Yeah, you're right, Moose. Sorry. I'm the one that gave him the nickname, and I can't even keep it straight. But it's about time for a new well, actually, let's go back to y'all's travels really quickly. So y'all went to where all y'all go? Colorado, Louisiana, where else?
Yeah. Well, I went to Kentucky, and I think up there in Kentucky at the Simon Buckner Bolivar Institute, we had a good meeting up there, and you see H.K. Edgerton there with me. H.K. and I was there, and Tom Hitter, and a couple other speakers, and we had a great time in Kentucky, and the folks in Kentucky were really on fire, and just glad to be with those folks. They were kind of an inspiration. So I think things are beginning to really look better all the time in Kentucky, and I'm expecting big things out of Kentucky. And HK was his typical self. He was just on fire from get-go. So I enjoyed HK, and I always have a good time when we're together. So, and if y'all don't know who HK Edgerton is, you need to get to know him. And then this past weekend, I was up in Colorado, and we're speaking to the Colorado division at the Colorado Springs, and we had a great time there. There's Don Kramer with our flags there in the background, and the Colorado division is doing well. They're making progress, and I'm just real proud of those folks. And this is one of our newest members in Colorado Springs, and he was on fire. Was glad to meet me and to hear about what we had to say. And I tell you what, it was good to have him with us. So we're making progress in Colorado. And folks, we need not to let these Western Confederates outdo us.
No, it seems like the ATM's doing a lot of good. Other armies, we need to be stepping it up and keeping on par with everybody.
Yes.
Ron,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I was in North Carolina at a non-SCV meeting, and I met a guy who's in charge of the Constitution Party in Georgia. And he was well aware of the SCV, was very excited about what the Georgia SCV was doing in regards to registering people to vote. And something very important. This is non-political. It's part of our citizenship duty. And he was very excited about what the SCV was doing. And matter of fact, he said he had been to several meetings of the SCV. So I was excited at that meeting. It was a good turnout for a small group, but they were very enthusiastic. Quite a few people from outside of the South that really do not understand what we're all about. They've never heard of the SCV. We're just amazed that we're as large as we are, with camps all over the Confederation, all over the United States, and even in some foreign nations. So they were impressed with the SCV, and I was up there promoting that and urging them to help us maintain our heritage, which they are concerned as well. I also managed to get an invite to speak to the Metairie Harahan UDC the week before that, and it was a good meeting. Those ladies were really excited about maintaining their heritage, continuing the fight. It was very impressive to me. We had about 4 or 5 SCV members that came to their meeting, so we could talk and commiserate. They were the Drew camp and the Beauregard camp. So I was very excited to see them. And I've been at other places. I can't even remember where I've been. I know I've headed up to North Louisiana. Next week I'll be up in North Louisiana.
Next week. At the Richard Taylor camp, and I just saw Chuck McMichael put his 2 cents in there. So you'll be talking to Chuck. Listen, one thing I want to go ahead.
Well, also say, speaking of Chuck really quickly, he did ask a personal favor earlier this week. Do y'all remember back on Facebook when we had the Throwback Thursdays?
Yes.
Well, Chuck wanted me to throw this throwback on and see if we could continue it on and see how many of these folks you recognize and are still around.
Well, with my bad eyes, I can recognize about half of them. I see Chuck, and it looks like past Commander-in-Chief from Well, anyway,
Is that Kelly? Wait a minute.
Yeah, Kelly standing right above Michael. And
I see Chuck back there.
Yeah,
both Chucks.
Chuck Rand and
hey, is that Todd?
That's Todd in a skirt. Excuse me.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Oh, how disgusting. Is that Michael Bergeron there? I can't tell.
It looks like Michael.
It could be.
Well, if anybody besides Chuck McMichael can tell when this picture was taken, you get a special kudos. But I'll say where it was. I'll say it was in 2009. When it was taken.
Oh my goodness!
And ain't none of them aged one bit.
Say what you will, Todd has aged.
Well, Todd looks much older now. He's probably decrepit now. I don't know if he can even get in that skirt anymore. Paul said that was taken in Hot Springs.
It was.
Well, that takes me back quite a few years then.
Anyway, back to we're gonna keep the Throwback Thursdays going. So y'all send in those pictures. But back to the topic at hand. I think it's about time for a new attack ad, or isn't that right? First, I want to go back to Colorado right quick because those people out there are so enthusiastic. We had UDC ladies there, and I apologize, I cannot remember the lady's name, a lady that started a Rocky Mountain Confederate Memorial where they were defending. She was not a member of the SCV or a family member of SCV or not a UDC.
And the SCV just stumbled onto her activity, and now they're together and working together. The point is, I want to make that there's a lot more people out there, not just in Colorado, but in Mississippi, in Virginia, in South Carolina, wherever, who believe as we believe, but we cannot be a well-kept secret. The SCV cannot be a well-kept secret, and that is why we do these counterattacks that I think Connor is leading up to. Is that not correct?
Well, yes. Well, I was trying to get to while my computer's still not frozen, and I can monitor on one screen and click on the other. I don't want us to lose the graphic of what you emailed over is what it's pulling down to.
Yeah.
So you ready for it?
Yes, sir. All right. This is one of the things that Ron and I have been trying. Now, let me ask you, Connor, can you show the microphone first?
No, sir. I could not get it in there with the way I had to crop it.
Well, I tell you,
we will put
right.
an entire PDF of the document on Facebook tomorrow.
Okay, folks, what you're looking at right now, when you go to Make Dixie Great Again, you'll see a microphone on there. Click on that mic and you'll come down to this page. On the first page, it says Tactics Special Operation. If you go down to the red line, it says Operation Find Friendly Media. It's right below the line. It says SCV Create Political Operation ? But click on that Operation Find Friendly Media, and then you'll go to a form that you can fill out that gives us information about good, friendly media, newspapers, radio, blogs, podcasts, anything of that nature. Now, the idea is whenever the SCV has a special event, when we have a news release, when we have something to say in response to some crazy thing that's said in Washington or a local area, we can get our information out to the friendly media. Now, by friendly media, I mean just people that would more than likely carry our press release, carry our information. The big newspapers will not. Usually a lot of your local dailies will do it. Some of your local and certainly your local weeklies will do it if they're small papers. You've got radio stations. Just about every community has a drive into work talk radio program. Those people are looking for things to talk about. We can send our information into them, special releases, special events, and many of them will pick it up. And especially if we are, say, something egregious happens in Washington, D.C. or something of that nature, and we want to get our side of the story out, we can get to this friendly media, and they will pick it up. We will circumvent the liberal censorship of the SCV, and we're being censorship. It's called censorship by exclusion. They are excluding us from the major news sources. So what we're doing is simply going around them by creating our own sources of outlet. And I'm going to give Louisiana as an example. Here in Louisiana, I have at least 3 or 4 weekly newspapers and at least 2 or 3 daily papers that will carry our message, plus radio stations, blog sites, and things of this nature. Ron?
Donald,
yes.
Have you been asked by SCV members a question like, why don't you get on Tucker Carlson? How many times have we heard that? It's like, oh, well, we don't want to be on Tucker Carlson.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the most absurd question, but it comes from a genuine, heartfelt feeling that they want us or someone from SCV to be on a national. Now, here's the thing. Here's the problem, folks. I don't know how many of y'all are old enough to remember the comedian Flip Wilson. Anybody remember? I know Connor doesn't.
I remember a joke that Louis Grizzard said about a former vice presidential candidate whose name sounded like Flip Wilson's sports car.
Well, Flip Wilson used to have a saying or joke in his sketch. He'd talk about this church has got to crawl before it can walk. And then he'd say, this church has got to walk before it can run. Well, the problem is with the SCV is too many of our people are expecting us to start running, and we haven't even started crawling yet. And that's what this is all about. Now, listen, you go to your local area, look in let's say Waynesboro,
Mississippi,
Georgia. I don't even know if there's a Waynesboro, Georgia, but I know there's a Waynesboro, Mississippi, but nonetheless, Waynesboro, Georgia. All right, my fictitious place. You look at your local media, there's got to be some fair-minded people. They may not be SCV members, but they're fair-minded. So you look for your radio DJs. First of all, like Donald said, there's people on the radio that has talk shows in the morning drive-in. Donald's got a friend up he used to be in Monroe. I think he's moved down to Lafayette now to host. He's got, how many stations does he have, Donald?
He covers the whole state of Louisiana. I think it's by 12 stations. Plus, he covers part of Arkansas, Texas, and Mississippi.
So, here's a friend that Donald has filled out his information. We can get stuff to Moon. I've got a friend down here in Metairie and close to New Orleans, a DJ. Not only does he have a good program, but he also writes for a town hall. And he also has columns in local Louisiana newspapers. Right. So we get information to him. But there's people like that all over the place. So you look at your weeklies, especially your weeklies. You look at people that are doing podcasts in your area. About a week ago, I was talking to a fellow who works at a gun shop, a gun store. And because I was asking when's there going to be the next time I'll have a chance to go by and do some practicing, and he said, and I told him, I'm writing a book, nullifying gun control, how we can prevent the federal government from seizing our guns. And he said, I need to get you on my podcast. I said, you got a podcast? Oh, yeah, we do it from our store, and we've got all kind of people from all over the country listen to us. All right, there's people like that everywhere. There's bloggers who write articles, and they just put them out on the internet. So what? This podcaster may have 100 people, but that's 100 people that'll hear our message that would have never heard it had we not done this. This is so important. This is the easiest way for us to start crawling. Once we start crawling, we can start walking. Once we start walking, we can run right on in to Tucker Carlson or any of the other big name places. Donald, what happened when they took the Robert E. Lee monument down in Richmond? How many calls did you get from about that? But who did they have Laura England's show to talk about?
Thankfully, the only, as far as the SCV and the UDC and any other Southern rights group, none of us got called to give our opinion and our perspective on what was going on. Zero, none, folks. It was as if the SCV didn't even exist. But Laura Ingram did have somebody on her program. He turned out to be worse than most liberals because he spent most of his time defending Lincoln and talking about trashing Lee a little bit. Was not a good case. So in the point Ron is making here, and I totally agree with him, the SCV is an unknown entity. It's unknown. People don't even know to contact us. Well, how do they get to know to contact us? I cannot pick up the phone and call Tucker Carlson. When they see Chief of Heritage Operation SCV, that don't make a bit of difference to them whatsoever. I could be CIC and they still wouldn't pay that much attention to me, if any. But once we get our people to get us in various newspapers, radio stations across the Confederation, and that includes northern states and western states, then people will know we're out there. We'll have an alternative view. And at that point in time, they'll be interested in talking to us. So
Yeah,
It's
and
very important.
it's fair. This is a force multiplier. So what
Yes.
happens is, suppose the chief of heritage operations puts out a news release about some slanderous article in the New York Times. All right. Listen, the New York Times not going to carry it. I can tell you something else. The Baton Rouge Advocate won't even take a paid advertisement on it. So we know they're not going to carry it. But if all these other areas will call it, suppose we go back to Waynesboro, Georgia, and the local editor of the local weekly there ran a comment about the news release that we released about this horrendous insult to the South. Now, so we've already made contact with people in Waynesboro, Georgia, that they would have never have heard about us. But here's what the important thing is. You, as a member of the camp there in Waynesboro, Georgia, you'll take that article, clip it out, make copies of it, and mail it to every elected Republican in your area. I don't care if he's dog catcher. You send it to him. Make sure and put a little quick note. Just want to make sure you saw what XYZ newspaper editor said about the insult to the SCV. That's all. You don't have to say anything. Put them on notice. Here we are. And not only are we issuing news releases, but it's being carried all over the South. If it's done verbally on a DJ, then you just get the time and date and make a quick note. XYZ DJ on radio station so-and-so on such and such date said this about our news release. I just wanted to let you know what's going on and hope you heard it. And if you need more information, feel free to call us or get in contact with and mail it to every elected official, everyone. Now, this would give you a force multiplier. And listen, not just your local officials. Send it to your senators and your representatives in Congress. They need to know. Now, whether or not they'll pay any attention the first 2 or 3 times, you keep doing it. The first, second 100, third 100 time, yeah, they'll start paying attention. We start showing up at their town hall meetings. They'll start paying attention. But that's what we've got to do, folks. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it, and we can turn this thing around. We can start crawling, then we can start walking, and by God, we're going to start running.
And when we start running, we're going to run right over the heads of some of those rhinos. Now, listen, I'm going to hold this picture up here. Folks, to get this information started, we've got to get you to go to Make Dixie Great Again, our website. You'll see a microphone on the webpage. Click on that microphone. Then you'll see where it says Tactics and Operations. And then you go down where it says Operation Find Friendly Media. Click on that. You'll get a form, and you can electronically turn that form in, or you can mail it in, print it off and mail it in. We need to accumulate a list of people that will carry our information. Now, here's 2 good points here. Number one, if we had 10 to 15 such outlets in every Confederate states, 15 and 15, we're looking at 150 or so, 175 so outlets that's giving our information out. Guess what? We're getting information out to a couple of million people. Connor, how much did that cost us? How much did it cost the SCV to get our message out to almost 1 million or more people?
Nothing if we do the work.
Exactly. It's a no-brainer. And another thing, like Ron keeps pointing to, guess it's not just the general public who will hear this, but those weak-kneed, without a backbone, rhino politicians will hear about it, and they, all of a sudden, their back will become stiffer. Ron, did we not see this in Virginia recently?
Absolutely. And I was so excited talking to the folks that were ramrodding this. They have a county that is having a fight about and it's a conservative county,
Yep.
But there's certain loudmouth Black Lives Matter, Antifa type that want to remove the monuments, and the Republican establishment was sort of looking like they were going to cave, but immediately our people went out and did some things that are just absolute. They did direct mail. They did robocalls. We're going to do some more of it. The Confederate Legion is going to help them. We're going to get some more out. We got a big meeting coming up. I believe it's on the 15th of November, and I plan on being there speaking on behalf of our Southern heritage. And the meeting is a meeting of what we would call in Louisiana the police jury, but I believe y'all common law folks call it the board of supervisors or something of that nature. But the county commissioners, the people that run the county, and they've already started resisting the left, not resisting us, but they're coming over to our side. Now, why did they come up? Because they love us, Donald?
Absolutely not. Hey, they love at their volition. They fear at our volition.
That's right. Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
I got a quick question. Just because we had this today in Mississippi, and I didn't think about it because of work and everything else until y'all mentioned those backstabbing rhino Republicans, because I saw several of them at lunch and lost my appetite. But in Louisiana, do y'all have, so in Mississippi, we have something called Hobnob, and it's brought on by the, one of the, I can't remember which group it is, but all the politicians that are politicians on the state level are there. Do y'all have something like that?
Yeah, we do. And I used to deal with it back in the good old days when I was gainfully employed with the largest insurance company, state-owned insurance company for medical malpractice. But we do have something very similar to that in Louisiana.
Well, I don't understand why we can't have, at least, and it's completely off subject. I'm sorry about this, but in Mississippi, I've now got a year to plan for it, and I'm planning on, depending on a couple of things. Right now, my plan next year is to go and pass out as much literature and other stuff as I can at that event. But sorry about that.
Hey, wait, let me ask you.
That's a good thing, but you need to do some preparatory work ahead of time. Make sure everybody that you think will be in attendance that's potentially on your side. Make sure they get an email from you. Make sure they get a snail mail from you. Make sure they know who you are and what you represent and what the SCV represents. And Mississippi, by now, they should all know, but don't take it for granted. It shows activity. And listen, politicians are concerned about one activist scares them more than 1,000 pacified, apathetic voters.
Ron, one of the things I want to go back to, I'm going to do like that redheaded press secretary in Washington. I want to circle back to this. But anyway, one of the reasons I think they had success in Virginia, or having success, is they didn't wait until the crisis before they got out with their information. They more or less got ahead. They heard that, hey, something may be coming, and they got their information out ahead of time to their people. They took their Republican voting list and used that because they know these are the good conservatives, as good as they get. And then they sent letters out to those people. They started running radio ads ahead of time. And this is something that I get a little bit distressed of the Confederate Legion. As long as we've got money in the bank, we will help every camp sponsor some radio ads. But so often what happens is a camp will wait until they're under attack, and then they'll rush. Hey, we got to run some radio ads. Well, yes, we do need to. But folks, like Mama used to tell us, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Or a stitch in time will save 9.
Absolutely. If you let the local people in Wayne County, Mississippi, is there Wayne County in Mississippi? Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
All right. Isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Is that where Moose is from?
Yes.
Well, we just can't get away from that old boy.
I've been to Rainsboro one time.
Is that right? That's a long time ago. Well,
Yes.
Anyway, if we can get ahead of the game and let the local political leadership, let them know that the citizens of that county, they know their Southern heritage, they're proud of their Southern heritage, and if you make them mad, it's going to cost you. It's easier to do that ahead of time than rush along after the enemy has already set the stage for the removal of a monument. Because then you've got to fight two fronts instead of one front. So the point is, I'm trying to make these radio ads are not designed to be a defensive thing. They're proactive. We need to get ahead of the game. Ron?
Yeah, I was talking to the gentleman who was real big in the Reagan administration. I'm not going to call his name because I didn't get permission to it, but he's a strong Southerner, as strong as any of the three of us. But he said that he has friends in Washington, D.C. who are very closely connected to the Nation. Are you familiar with the liberal rag, the Nation? Well, it's been around eons. But at any rate, those folks were he said they were just flabbergasted by how easy it has been to take away Southern heritage and monuments and destroy it. So they were expecting a long, tough battle. And of course, what I pointed out to them, I said, well, look, you got to realize that they went after the low-hanging fruit. They went after the monuments that were in democratically controlled cities, first of all. So what Donald is talking about is, look, and if your parish, what do they call a parish in common law, Donald?
I think it's counties. I'm not sure.
County. Okay. Yeah, it's Louisiana, folks. We got to rub it in. But anyway, you got a county that's predominantly conservative. And you look at it votes red. This is a conservative county. That's the county you need to make sure we maintain those monuments. Those are our monuments. Now, I'm not saying forget about New Orleans, for instance, or Monument Row for that matter. But listen, there's things we can do politically to get those back. But those are political issues, not SCV issues. It's things that we've got to do as in the political realm. But there's a lot we can do if we're organized and willing to do it.
Yeah, and we can't wait till the enemy is already pulling monuments down to go on the offensive, because then you're purely defensive. And, defense is necessary. But even Bear Bryant would tell you, you cannot win a football game on defense alone. You've got to have a good offense. Defense merely makes it possible for your offense to win. Many military tacticians says that will tell you fortification are a monument to man's stupidity. That's correct. Fortification is only good to protect your troops while they're organizing to attack. Then you sally forth and attack. We need to go on the attack. And one of the things, Connor, we're at looks like 7:35 or so. If we need to take a break or anything, let me know, because Kennedy's, we'll talk forever.
Keep going.
All right. Okay. All right. What we need to do, folks, is to go on the offensive. And one of the ways we're going to do this is by our Confederate Legion counterattack. Now, before I say that, Ron, help this old man remember to go back to the Confederate counterattack. But I see something here I've got underlined. I need to let people know. If you are a Confederate Legion member and have not heard anything from us, please email us at this address. It's clegion@reagan.com. CLEGION @Reagan, REAGAN.com. That is our Confederate Legion email address. If you email it to me, I get hundreds of emails, and it's liable to get lost before I can get to it. So email me, and this is strictly for people who are having trouble with, say, I don't know if my membership is expired, or I joined and I haven't received anything yet. Yeah, that looks good, Connor. I haven't received anything. Am I not a member? Am I a member? Let us know. If you haven't received, if you are a member and you haven't received your certificate, email me. Let me know. We'll get with the folks at Victory Flags and More. Ray Shores and his people in Florida, Mississippi. Now, Ron, myself, Ray, we're volunteers. We're not paid employees. We do have one lady at Victory Flags More that we pay occasionally, very part-time, to do some work for us. And we'll get you your certificate, and we'll check and make sure that you're on our list. You should, if you're on our list, you should get a constant contact reminder about at least quarterly of a Confederate Legion newsletter or some event. Now, I think Ron sent out on our Confederate Legion email list through Constant Contact message about tonight's program. You did that, what, yesterday, Ron?
Did that yesterday around 10 o'clock in the morning.
So if you look on your email, if you're a Confederate Legion member and you didn't get that, you need to check and make sure. Email me at clegion@reagan.com and say, am I on your email list? So we definitely want to stay in touch with our people. Now, after getting that done, I was afraid I was going to forget that. That's why I went back to it. All right, now we're going to talk about the Confederate Counter-Attack, our Confederate Legion Confederate Counterattacks. Once every other month, the Confederate Legion is sponsoring what we call a counterattack. In November and December, we kind of got a double whammy here. In November, starting early in November, we're going to start doing something called the Real Thanksgiving. The Real Thanksgiving. We want to let folks know that Thanksgiving did not get started in America in the cold climate of New England, those people up there, but it got started almost 10, 11 years before that in the South. It is a Southern holiday, originated in the South. Now, the idea is not just to correct that. The idea is to show our people and let them know that fake history is just preeminent in today's society. Just like they didn't know about our people having the first Thanksgiving. Why in the world do Southern children dress up as little pilgrims, little Puritans or whatever, every Thanksgiving? It's ridiculous, because our people in the South, in Jamestown, Virginia is well below the Mason-Dixon line, folks, and they are the ones that started Thanksgiving. But by pointing out the discrepancy there in the facts of the real Thanksgiving, we can dovetail onto that about other issues that the South has been either the history has been distorted, or the South has been maligned in the reporting of history. Just like Robert E. Lee is a traitor. That's why they want to pull his monument down. And of course, if Robert E. Lee is a traitor because he followed Virginia in secession, so is your Confederate ancestors. Well, we need to show them that, hey, look, that is not the case at all. Robert E. Lee was a great American patriot, just like our Confederate forefathers. They were following the Constitution of this United States, and they were doing what was legitimately right, and that the really basis of American government is with we, the people, the sovereign state, and not with some imperial power in Washington, D.C. So, and when he talked about also the issue of slavery. People say, oh, the South is responsible for slavery. No, it wasn't. Matter of fact, Connor's sitting there in Mississippi, and most people don't realize it, but slavery lasted 72 years longer in Massachusetts than it did in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. They need to know that. People need, we're talking about fake history. So now this whole idea, now we've got coming up in November, Thanksgiving, and then we're going to go into also Christmas in Dixie. We have videos on Make Dixie Great Again that you can download. We got radio ads. You can either put them on your social media site or take them to your radio stations and run them. We've got articles about Thanksgiving and about Christmas in Dixie that you can publish either in your social media or wherever. Social media right now. We may get banned from, say, Facebook, but there are other newer systems coming on board that we've got to get into soon. But if every SCV camp would just put these videos on their social media. I took when I was in Colorado, I asked the people there, how many of you people here have social media, some form of social media? 2/3 of the people did. No, it's close to 3/4. And I asked them, how many of you have ever put one of our video on your social media? None of them have. I said, it's free, folks. You'll get people interested in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. They'll hear our side of the story. All you have to do is go there, download it, put it on there, and run it. If we would do that, we could reach multi-millions of people. And again, Connor, how much did that cost us? Zero. Folks, let's don't raise $1 million to buy an ad on Tucker Carlson program. It'd be great, but why do that when we can reach just as many people for zero expense?
Well, here's the other thing on it. A couple years ago when the state flag fight happened here in Mississippi, we purchased some advertisement on the Rhino radio station. I won't call them out. Yeah. But they, after every time one of our ads played during one of the breaks, they would immediately come on and have their local talking head or their talking head come on and say how the flag needed to be changed. That's the same thing that's going to happen with any major media outlet. That's why we got to think locally and act locally. Sorry.
And like I said, we've got to think outside the box. We got to do things a little bit different, and that is absolutely correct. Now, listen, also, every 2 months, we got videos, we got radio ads, we got Southern Defenders that your camps can give out. We also have letters going to people, agents of influence in your community. Ron, can you tell us a little bit about the letters to the agents of influence in community?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to remind everybody, and I mentioned this at the National Convention when I did my presentation, but for those who was asleep, I don't know how you could sleep when a Kennedy's shouting at the podium, but if you were asleep and don't remember it, or if you weren't attending, the first person that came up with this idea of seizing the centers of influence and using them in order to destroy Western Christian civilization was a fellow by the name of Gramsci, an Italian communist. And this was like in 1880, 1890. Rudolph the Red, he's called, in the 1960s, a German guy, also picked up the banner and carried it. And the idea was, look, we're going to infiltrate the churches. Oh, yes, in the churches. We're going to infiltrate into education, into all the various community organizations, civic clubs, etc. And we're going to use those agents of influence to promote the idea of the socialist Marxist revolution. And they have done a wonderful job. If you don't believe me, look at some of the liberal churches that are dying right and left because they've been infiltrated and been used by these what I call neo-Marxists now. They're not classical Marxists. All right. Now, we are looking at it and saying, look, who is the agent of influence here in Mandeville, Louisiana, or in Waynesboro, Georgia? My mythical. Somebody's going to send me a note and tell me there is a Waynesboro.
somebody's already commented, and there is a Waynesboro, Georgia.
Oh, okay, wonderful. All right. Then let's see that who are the agents of influence in Waynesboro, Georgia? Well, you have a Kiwanis Club. Whoever is the head of that and the officers in there, those are agents of influence. When we send out our newsletter, our news release, these are people that we need to send this information to. When we do our counterattacks, these are the people we need to send our information to. What about the Knights of Columbus, your religious organization? Yeah, send it to them. What about the Baptist preacher and the Baptist deacons and the Baptist Sunday school teachers? Yeah, they too are agents of influence. And not just Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, the whole gamut, So these are agents of influence. The Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club, on and on and on. We go these civic organizations. You drive into town, you used to see this sign where they have the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club. They won't let us put the SCV up anymore, but
some will,
yeah. But all of these are agents of influence. Well, who's been influencing them? The neo-Marxists have been influencing them. We have not been influencing them, and it's our responsibility as SCV members to start influencing them. These are agents of influence. Now, people say, well, I'll send them to them, but they'll just trash can it. That's all right. You send it the next 2 months later, they get another letter from them. 2 months later, they get another one. Every camp, now listen, I am going to put camp commanders on notice. I'm not running for a dang office in the SCV, so I don't care if you get PO'd at me. It is your responsibility to get this information before you get. It should be on your agenda. If we've got a counterattack coming up, you should at least bring it up and see if anybody wants to do anything about it. If not, well, you made your decision. Also, information about getting the list of friendly media, that should be on your agenda. So we have a counterattack. You've got to say, okay, who's going to take these letters and send them out to the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, the Knights of Columbus, the preachers, etc. We do one counterattack on religion in the South.
Right.
Every pastor, every priest in your county or parish, city should be getting this information mailed to him. Will he appreciate it or she appreciate it? Maybe or maybe not. They need to get it anyway. You know, the first time they hear it, they'll blow it off. Second time, third time, we don't go away. We stay. We're coming back. We're not defeated. We're attacking. And you got to either get with us or get out of the way, because here we come. And we do it in a very civil manner. We do it in a very polite way. We don't get confronted, combative, unless absolutely necessary. But nonetheless, this is our responsibility. And it's the camp commander's responsibility to get this information to the members. Now, you may have a camp, and I'm thinking of one right now, and I won't call his name, that really wants to be a Civil War roundtable with a Southern accent. You know, now there's nothing wrong with the Civil War roundtable, but their mission is not what our mission is. Our mission is exactly, explicitly detailed in the charge. We have a specific responsibility and a duty to those who are no longer here, who cannot speak for themselves, and their blood is in our veins, and it is our responsibility to speak for them. So we can't just be a Civil War roundtable with a Southern accent. Let's just have a nice little meeting and talk about battles and leaders. Now, yes, we do have nice little meetings. I enjoy talking about battles and leaders, but that should not be the sole purpose. That should be, as we say in Louisiana, lagniappe. That's just a little something extra, a little something special. Our primary reason for being is to defeat the neo-Marxist enemy that's coming after us. Listen, it's not just our Southern heritage. It's Western Christian civilization. And we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our children and our grandchildren. We have a duty and a responsibility. And camp commanders, is your duty, is your responsibility. And if you're not man enough to do it, get out of the way and let somebody else do it. We've got to get this job done. Next, in 2022, when we have our reunion, we're going to be in Georgia. Where in Georgia are we going to be?
Cartersville.
Where?
Cartersville.
Right. So we're going to be in Georgia. My idea is, and I'm suggesting to Donald, that we keep up with every division, and keep the number of how many friendly, Southern friendly media contacts we've had from Mississippi, from Louisiana, from Texas. And let's just see how many we've got. And then we'll also break it down to proportionate to SCV members. So we're going to really find out who is serious about this, who wants to do something about this, who wants to take this attack to the enemy. I'm tired of people moaning and groaning and not doing something. And it's our responsibility. We either do something or get off the pot.
As they say, what Ron is, I'll just draw this down to real simple terms. virtually every SCV camp, we say the charge, and the charge tells us to vindicate the cause for which they fought. To vindicate, not to apologize, not to equivocate, but to vindicate. Listen, folks, the SCV has been real good at saying the charge, but damn it, it's well past time to say the charge. We've got to start doing the charge. Doing the charge. We've got to take this fight to John Q. Public, let them know they have a reason to be proud of their Southern heritage. We got to educate them there. Then we've got to motivate those people to pick up that phone and call their politician or whomever that's causing us problems. And then we've got to activate them. We've got to make members out of them. And we've got to get busy promoting and defending the cause of the South. If not us, Connor, if not now, when? And if it's not us, there is no one else, ladies and gentlemen. Ron has made it abundantly clear, I think. If we don't do this, the South will be totally destroyed. It will be as gone as Babylon is now. It'll be not even a footnote in history.
It'll really be gone with the wind.
We are the ones who must step up and do the charge, not just say the charge. And I think we can do this. One of the things I want to mention about these letters, let's say we do in around Veterans Day and Memorial Day, we do things about the Confederate veteran being an American veteran and defending all American veterans. This is a perfect time to send those letters to your VFW and various organizations of veterans, because they are very proud and very defensive of veterans, all veterans, and they need to know who we are. The same thing with history. When we're talking about the 4th of July and talking about the right of secession and the history of America, every history teacher needs to get a letter from us in the public schools, private schools, homeschooling association. They need to hear from us. Now, like Ron said, everybody that gets that letter, probably maybe 50 to 90% of them will be thrown away the first time. But they keep getting this, and they see that what we're talking about, a few of them will start getting curious and looking at our videos, reading our material. They'll start hearing about the sons of Confederate veterans and who we are. That then, at that point in time, if every SCV camp would get on board and do this, we would not be a well-kept secret anymore. And the most important fact of all is the political leadership will have heard about us. They will begin to fear us. As I said before, they love us at their volition. They fear us at our volition. Politicians are not your friend. They're politicians. They are wedded to the next re-election cycle. We have to learn that no matter how glad-handed some politician is, unless he's one of us, unless he's been down for the struggle for many years, he ain't going to stand with us if the heat gets too hot. So we've got to have one of our own eventually to stand up for us, and what Ron and I call the bully pulpit. And we've got to put the heat on the political establishment. They will then come to our defense and will not stab us, be so eager to stab us in the back like they did in Mississippi, like Nikki Haley did in South Carolina, like those idiot Republicans in Georgia that wouldn't support the integrity of the ballot system. All those things are caused by politicians who don't fear the consequences of their action. We've got to make them fear us.
And don't leave out Louisiana's sorry rhinos, who 2 years in a row trashed our bill to preserve our monuments. A Republican leader took it out of a good, positive committee and gave it over to a committee dominated by the Democrats. And you know what happened to our bill at that point in time. And he got away with it scot-free. No one did anything about it. It's our responsibility to be in a position politically where we can punish those people. That guy should have been in Louisiana. We've got a recall system. We should have immediately set up a committee outside the SCV, a committee of concerned citizens, and recall that SOB. Even if we don't win the recall election, he's got to go through the drudgery and the embarrassment of putting up with it. We can do this,
and
folks.
everybody
It's called irregular political warfare. I talk about it in Dixie Rising. I talk about it we talk about it in just about every book now we've written. We've got to do this. We can't afford another 4 to 12 years of what we're doing, because we're reaching the point now, like John Randolph said, the little upon which we now subsist will be taken from us. And remember, folks, this isn't just a fight for the South. This is a fight for everyone in America that believes in these traditional values, these conservative, moral, social, economic values. It was Vice President Stevens who said after the war, the cause of the South is now the cause of all Americans. Was he talking about slavery, Don?
Not at all. But Ron, I want to mention here, I was on 2 podcasts this past 6 weeks, one of them in London, England, one of them in New York, upstate New York. Now, the guy from upstate New York, he was a Christian, a conservative, and one of the things he told me, he said, Mr. Kennedy, he said, I am so glad to hear what y'all are doing in the Sons of Confederate Veterans and all the books that y'all are writing, the literature you're putting out there. He said, I'm glad, because I'm telling you, if America is to be saved, the South has to step up and get the ball rolling. Listen, this is a New York Yankee. Yeah, it's a New York Yankee telling us if America is to be saved, the South must do it. So Southerners, let's get going. Let's get on the counterattack. Let's go on. Let's be proactive, and let's absolutely, as the Sic Semper Tyrannis, let's put our heel on the neck of tyranny once and for all.
Yeah, let's be like Paul Gremlin said. We must be more committed than our enemies. We've got to be more committed than Black Lives Matter, than Antifa, than the neo-Marxists, than the deep state, than the rich money boys on Wall Street, and the globalists. We've got to be more committed than they are. Now, we can't go up against them dollar for dollar, but using this idea of irregular political warfare, we can go against them and we can win. And listen, I've got in Dixie Rising, Connor, you held it up just a minute ago. Hold. In Dixie Rising, I have 5 examples of 5 nations, 5 people who won their freedom, their liberty, preserved their heritage, and they did it in a non-violent method. So this idea of irregular political warfare is certainly workable, it's doable. All that's required is for people who are dedicated enough to put in the time and the effort and be willing to stand up against the evil that confronts us.
Well, it appears we lost one of the Kennedys.
Well, he's got out in the country, they may have ran out of juice. They're trying to get it going back again.
May have, but that is a good time for us to be winding up. We've been at it for an hour. We'll replay this episode next Wednesday on our Wednesday Rewind. So if you've missed the first part of it, of course, you can rewatch it, but we're also rebroadcasting some of our episodes. We'll make sure this one is for next Wednesday. Before we sign off, there's one thing that I did want to mention. Compatriot from my division, Jack DuPont, posted it a couple of times in the chat, but this Saturday, October 30th at 10 a.m., there will be a memorial service honoring Private Elijah Edwards in Mendenhall, Mississippi. Address is 469 East Court Avenue, Mendenhall, Mississippi. If you're wanting to participate as a reenactor, you need to be at the cemetery by 9 a.m. Of course, like all SCV events, besides business sessions at Reunion, all people are welcome. Grady Howell, the great Mississippi historian, will be there speaking. There'll be wreath laying by the Marianne Forest OCR chapter, and it's hosted by the Lowry Rifles Camp 1740. So that's this upcoming Saturday, 10 a.m., Mendenhall, Mississippi. I hate I will not be able to go. I've got to do that evil 4-letter word. But somebody's got to pay the bills. But anyway, until next time we meet, which will be Monday at 7 o'clock, I appreciate the Kennedy twins. Appreciate y'all for coming on. Monday, I believe we have one of our Florida compatriots coming on talking about descendants of Confederate soldiers who served in the United States military. I believe his title of his talk is From Appomattox to Berlin. Will be something that you won't want to miss as we get geared into Veterans Day. And until then, y'all stay